lobe blood. These are renal lobes, right? When it goes between the lobes, we call it interlobal artery. Here we call it arcuated artery. Look here, this is arcuated artery. Do you guys see that? That's the one that's here. Arcuated artery branching to interlobular. This is very important, guys. Then we have afferent arteriole going inside this knot-shaped structure. Do you see that? We call that glomerulus. The blood comes out of there. We call it efferent arteriole. So afferent arteriole, glomerulus, efferent arteriole. Do you guys see that? Now look, pay attention to something. This is going to really help you in physiology if you wake up and don't sleep and listen. So look here. This is the nephron. Filtration, right, happens here. So some stuff goes from the tubule of the nephron into the capillaries. Some stuff goes from capillaries into the tubules. Does that make sense? So pay attention. Afferent arteriole blood goes into glomerulus. Do you see that? 20% of the blood that goes into glomerulus gets filtered. This is a different. Have you ever heard about kidneys filter blood? This is what filter means. Look, the blood will go from glomerulus from here into the tube. You see that? 20% of the blood goes in there. And then based on the concentration of stuff in our body, the kidney decides what stays in the body, meaning send it back to the blood, or what goes into the urine, meaning getting rid of it. I'll give you an example. I just had a French fry. What did I enter my body? A lot of it. Salt, sodium, right? So right now my kidney, the 20% blood that gets filtered into the tubule, what do you think they're doing? Do you think they're sending the kidney back into the blood or into the tubule to go in my urine and get out? To my urine and get out. Do you guys see that physiology is common sense? Physiology is common sense. Pathophysiology is not. Pathology is not, because it's like, oh, now it's not working properly. Physiology means common sense. Whatever we got to do to maintain homeostasis. Homeostasis means balance. If sodium goes up, we want to bring it down. Anybody hasn't ate anything all day? They're fasting still? Jay is. Right now, Jay, all of the blood, the 20% that gets filtered and goes into the tubule in Jay's body, they're just squeezing every bit of sodium back into the blood because he needs sodium. Does that make sense? So that's what kidney job is. That's why without kidney we die. That's why people who have kidney failure, they have to go on dialysis, hours. They gotta go sit on that machine for hours because that's how important it is. It gets rid of waste, it takes care of a lot of stuff. Now let's talk about it. So the efferent arteria comes out, now it becomes all of this. Do you guys see it? We call them peritubular capillaries. Remember, at the level of capillary material can go in and out, right? That's why here, some stuff goes into the blood, some stuff goes into the tubule. Does that make sense? And now let me show you something. This is where I told you I want to stop, remember? So look, this is the glomerulus, right? Look, we have the glomerulus here. This head, let me go here. This glomerulus capsule, do you see that? Glomerulus and glomerulus capsule together, we call it renal corpuscle. Now let's talk about the yellow, the tube. The first part of the tubule, we call it proximal convoluted tubule. Do you guys see that? Yes or no? Then we have nephron loop or loop of Henle. Look, when it's going down, we call it descending lymph. When it's going up, we call it ascending lymph. And then here at the end, we have distal convoluted tubule. The capillaries around these tubule, we call it what? Peritubular capillaries. Peritubular capillaries. These one that looks like a ladder, we call it vasa recta. Does that make sense? So far, so good? So let's go here. They stretched it out so you can see what it looks like. Does that make sense? Look, this is the afferent arteriole, the glomerulus, efferent arteriole, peritubular capillary. capillaries? Yes or no? This here is the glomerulus capsule. This is the glomerulus space. Proximal convoluted tubule. Here's the nephron loop. Descending lymph, ascending lymph. Distal convoluted tubule. And then we have the collecting duct. The urine goes into the collecting duct. That's the end. It's ready to go to the ureter and down. Does that make sense? So look here. Green. Material moving from the blood into glomerulus, from glomerulus into the space is called, capsular space is called filtration. Now look here. Remember in digestive system what the definition of absorption was? We first digested, right? We first broke down food. Digestion was breaking down everything, correct? A bunch of other stuff. And then we said this nutrients, they had to move where? To the blood. That was called absorption. Now look here, the material, those same nutrients, the same sodium, same calcium. Now everything cannot, let me be clear about something. Not everything can go through. For example, you're not supposed to find any protein going to the tubules. This is more for ions and small molecules. Sugar can go in there. Now, how much material I said goes in? 20% of the blood that goes in here goes in there. More than 99% of that has to return to the capillaries. Does that make sense? Like all of the glucose has to return. If glucose, all of it not return, what are you gonna find in the urine when they do urine tests? They're gonna find glucose. What is that a sign of? Diabetes. Does that make sense? So this is mainly to balance the ions in our body. That's the main thing the kidney does. Does that make sense? Well, look here. Materials came out of the blood into the tubule. If you send it back to the blood, now we call it reabsorption. Remember, the absorption happened in the digestive system. So here it's called reabsorption. Now, if the material goes from the capillaries into the tubule, we call that secretion. For example, right now there's a lot of secretion happening in my nephrons. There's a lot of secretion of, what do you think they're having secretion of? Jesus Christ, some of you look so tired and sleepy. Like I look at you, I'm like, am I gonna collapse right now? It's okay. I think it's because of the time our classes, we come to class with your stomach full. I feel like that sometimes. I'm like, oh my God, I better get up and walk. So what did I say I ate? So in my body right now, there's a lot of secretion of sodium. There's a lot of absorption in my nephrons. And in Jay's nephron, there's a lot of reabsorption of sodium. Does that make sense? So, what was I going to tell you? I was going to tell you something. Remember we talked about ADH? Yes or no?
Yes.
So most of the water goes back to the blood. Most of the water portion of the everything that gets filtered, most of that goes back as distal convoluted tubule and not collecting duct, but the collecting tubule, the last part. We have receptors there. Okay, we have receptors there. When you drink alcohol, you notice you pee a lot more. So what alcohol does is actually block those receptors. ADH cannot bind with them. Does that make sense? That's why you get dehydrated, because now you're urinating more water out. You're not getting 99% of it back. Does that make sense? Alcohol acts as what? It does that. What medication does that? Get rid of water. A group of medication. Diuretic. Those are what? Medication for hypertension. People with high blood pressure. pressure. Now look here, the distal convoluted tubule, guys, you see this here? Distal convoluted tubule has a group of cells there called macula densa. These cells, they detect how much sodium is in the blood. My macula densa right now is like, oh my God, what are we gonna do with this owner, like with this woman? She just put a lot of sodium in the blood. Does that make sense? The macula densa sends signals to hypothalamus telling what hormones need to be released. Does that make sense? And then telling the rest of the nephron what to do. Get rid of sodium or take it back. Does that make sense? This is what the nephron looks like. Convoluted tubule, nephron lobe, descending length, ascending length, distal convoluted tube. This one's proximal convoluted tube versus distal convoluted tube and collecting duct. Now I'm going to go back. Okay, so I'm going to go back to show you something. So this is what? Collecting duct. You guys see that? Look here. The collecting duct goes all the way where? So look, we have these collecting ducts, and then there are millions of nephrons attached to these collecting tubules. Do you guys see that? So the collecting duct is here. Pours the urine through renal papilla into minor calyx, into major calyx, into renal pelvis, into ureter. That's what I'm trying to say. This here is the ureter. How the urine moves in ureter is the same movement, because this is, again, what kind of muscle is it? Smooth muscle, right? First of all, we have transitional epithelial there, and then we have smooth muscle. How urine moves down is through peristalsis movement. Bless you. Peristalsis. Remember, that's how food was moving in the esophagus. Peristalsis. And this is urinary bladder. Look, urinary bladder. We have the rugae inside. We have the detrusor muscle. The muscle in the urinary bladder is called the detrusor muscle. That's the rugae. This is a full bladder versus empty bladder. This is female reproductive, male reproductive. So look, there's a short urethra in women. One of the reasons women are so exposed to getting what? UTI, urinary tract infection. Orifice means opening. This is the orifice. And we tag stuff here, and then the students call it orifice. This is the male. Look, there is prostate gland. Now, the urethra in male has 3 parts. So we have the prostate gland here. Then here we have the urogenital diaphragm. Man and woman, they both have the urogenital diaphragm. What that is the muscle of the pelvic floor. Okay, this is a muscle of the pelvic floor. So, and then in man, this is a penis. So look, we call it prostatic urethra, membranous urethra, spongy urethra. Okay? And then we're going to talk more about the structures and reproductive system. Any questions on urinary? basically, so in the fetus, like once the zygote is made, so after a certain time in the fetus, we're talking about embryo fetus, okay, after a certain time, female and male reproductive system is gonna be shaped. Does that make sense? Till a certain point, they're both the same structure. And that's why we call homologous. So the same structure that turns into ovaries in female will be testes in male. Same structure that's an ovary testes, they will produce gametes. Gametes are sex cells and hormones. Clitoris, same organ that turns into clitoris. In male, it turns into glans of penis. Glans of penis is the head of the penis. The same place that forms into labia majora in woman, turns into scrotum in male. And then we have vestibular glands in female and bulbourethral gland in man. These are the glands that release lubrication. This is mid-sagittal view of woman reproductive system. So look, this is the ovary. This is fallopian tube. Do you guys see that? Guys, fallopian tube has finger-like structures. We call them embryos. So you can literally have a question on your lecture asking you, what is a finger-like structure of? No, it's not of the ovary, of the fallopian tube. Do you guys see where I'm going? Where you're not gonna have fimbrilla tagged in the lab exam. Does that make sense? So you learn more structures pretty much in lecture than lab. This is the uterus. The other name for a fallopian tube is urine tube. This is the uterus. The tip of the uterus. If on the exam this part is tagged, you're gonna call it cervix. If you're not sure, you can call it cervix of uterus. This is vagina. This is urinary bladder. This is urethra. This is the orifices. This is clitoris. This is anus. I've seen most of the students don't know this order. Clitoris, urethra, vagina, anus. Know the order. The inside, outside fold on the genital part of the woman. The outer part is labia majora. The inner part is labia minora. Labia majora or labia majus. Labia majus or labia minora. This is the part that hair can grow on it. Labia minora, hair cannot grow on it. And mons pubis is the top where there's hair. That's mons pubis. Now here, look, this is the urinary bladder, that's the uterus. Now let me show you something, I forgot to show you this. So do you see the woman uterus is sitting on top of urinary bladder? That's why when women get pregnant, they might keep going to the bathroom. About 20-30% of people, they have their uterus sitting that way. What happens for them? They're always constipated. They're always going to be constipated when they're pregnant, of course. Not necessarily, but you guys know what I'm talking about. That's why I can't repeat. Because if this is like big and now something's pressing on it, you're done, yes.
So like when you say that you have a tilted uterus,
Depends on, no, I don't know what they mean by that. It can be tilted, it can mean it's a little bit rotated too. So I don't know if that would be it. I don't know. Because I know it can be a little bit this way tilted, like in orientation. Has nothing to do with this side of it. Does that make sense? I think it's more of that when they say the tilt. I don't know. Yeah, because there's an angle to it. That angle, I think that, I don't know. Again, this here is showing you an ovary. This is an ovary. Do you guys see that? So look, we're looking at a menstruation cycle. You guys see these primordial follicles? Those are the cells that are going to turn into eggs in women. woman, infants. When an infant is born, they already have those. Does that make sense? You cannot produce those after birth. You're already born with them. I think women have about what? What's the number? They're like about 1 million of them. By the time you get to puberty, like, what is it? They say like 1,000 of it is still there, and then you're gonna release like 500 of them in a lifetime, something like that. So look, this is when menstruation starts. Do you guys see that? By the time menstruation ends, primordial follicles, they start growing. Do you see that? Primary follicle, do you guys see that? Here we have a primary oocyte. Now we have some opening here. Do you guys see that? This is a mature follicle. This is a mature follicle. This is a secondary oocyte. There's 2-layer covering of the egg, the secondary oocyte. Do you guys see that? There's an outer layer called corona radiata, and there's this inner layer called zona pellucida. But you guys see what happened here? The oocyte is kicked out of the ovary. What do we call that? That's what ovulation is. What hormone do we say is responsible for that? LH. This is corpus luteum. So the remaining of the mature follicle, once the egg is gone, turns into corpus luteum. It kind of grows. If there's no pregnancy, it's going to shrink into corpus albicans, and then the next day, next menstruation cycle starts. Does that make sense? Look here. This is a secondary oocyte. That's the egg pretty much. This is zona pellucidum layer, and then this dark around it is corona radiata, and this here is the antrum. Questions? Oogenesis is basically how we produce eggs. So when we go through mitosis, when your cells go through division, every cell gives you how many cells? 2, right? It divides into 2. In women, 1 oocyte gives you 1 ovum, meaning 1 egg. You only get 1 out of 1. In men, you get 4 sperms out of 1 cell. Does that make sense? I'm not going into that. Now we're going to talk about this a little bit. So look at this top here. This is the ovarian cycle, what we just looked at, right? We had the primordial follicles, right? They start growing into primary follicle, secondary, mature follicle. Here the ovulation happened. You guys see all of that? Here it's giving you days. This is first day of menstruation cycle, ovarian cycle, all of it. Do you guys see that? It goes all the way. Do you see this? Now let me show you something. On the second one, we're looking at the level of LH and FSH. We're looking at the level of LH and FSH. This one down here shows you the estrogen and progesterone. This one shows you urine cycle. This is basically showing you the wall of the uterus. So what is the blood coming in woman's menstruation is shedding of the wall of the uterus. Does that make sense? So look, this is at the end of the menstruation and end of bleeding. Look at the wall thickness. Do you guys see that? It keeps growing. Do you see that? And once the bleeding starts, it's basically shedding of that wall, helping it grow back to normal. Does that make sense? Now pay attention to this. Remember we said a spike in LH causes what? Ovulation the next day here, right? What caused spike in LH? Spike in estrogen. Do you see that? For ovulation to happen, we have to have estrogen go to that peak. What is estrogen involved in a woman? bone formation. Not only it's a sex hormone, when estrogen level goes down, what happens? Osteoporosis happens. That's why 5 years post-menopause, women are prone to osteoporosis. What is osteoporosis? It means your bone density is so low that if you fall, you can break your bone. Do you guys see how dangerous that sounds? It's so scary. I fall and break my bone. What? It's like when you're young, you purposely jump down, right? Do you guys see where I'm going with this? But now, but let me ask you something. So look what happens. Ovulation happens. Do you see that? Woman's body starts producing a lot of progesterone. If there is a pregnancy, the progesterone level stays up all the way till 9 months. You will not have another estrogen going up. You will not have another ovulation. You will not have another menstruation. Well, in a normal, sometimes women do. Sometimes they can get a natural abortion. In medical terminology, abortion means expelling of the fetus. Does that make sense? Or embryo? It doesn't necessarily mean getting a physical abortion. So, but let me ask you something. When the progesterone level is high, you're not going to get another ovulation. What are pregnancy pills? What is it called? Not pregnancy. What do they call them? Birth controls. What are they? Huh? They are progesterones. Well, low. Who says low? You say it or you know it's low? Well, let me ask you something. It has to be high enough to prevent a peak in estrogen, to prevent a peak in LH, to prevent an ovulation. Otherwise, if it was the word low that I'm talking about, right? If it was low enough to not cause any difference in your body, what would happen? You would get pregnant. So it's not, I don't like to use the word low, because it is high enough to mess up that whole thing. Did you guys know women who have more children, they are going to have more osteoporosis, more arthritis? Why do you think it is? In America, we say we don't know.
The baby is calcium, so it takes a baby to make bones, right?
But again, what did I say we need for bone formation? When you have this up for 9 months in your lifetime, you're keeping that low. So you're already messing up with your bone density, and the baby's taking some calcium. So you're kind of double screwed. Does that make sense? Now you have 3 babies, you're doing that 9 months. If you have 5 babies, that's what, 4 years? What are these patches, these stuff they put under the skin, or the shots they give women, and then they can't get menstruation for a whole year? I heard now they have for 2 years or so. Do you guys know about those? Huh? Every 3 years? Where do they give them? Huh? No, but I have a question. Where can I get one? If I want to go get one right now, where do I get one? Huh? Your gynecologist gave that to you? Huh? Planned Parenthood. No gynecologist is going to give you that shit. That thing kills you. That thing's ruined your life. Don't make up that. Find me a gynecologist. I'll go and I'll prove you. No gynecologist is going to give you that. You only find these products where? Planned Parenthood. I have a lot of problem with Planned Parenthood. They make everything political in our country, sadly. Right? If you don't like Planned Parenthood, everybody would assume what party you're with. You're Republican. Does that make sense? But they are politicizing something that has nothing to do with politics. What neighborhood are they using these things on? Low-income neighborhoods. Why is it? even know what's the long-term side effects of these on people? They're not even been out for that long. These new garbage stuff that they're using. I remember I was in college when I first heard, that was like what, 2006, 2007, that's like what, 15 years ago? That's the longest these garbage stuff are out. And by the way, nowhere in the world they use that. That's the funny part. Those things, the injections or something they put under my friend's arm. Is that the one we were talking about?
Mm-hmm.
No gynecologist will give you that. She went to her gynecologist in Beverly Hills and she said, do not get that thing. That is bad for your body. We don't use that here. The only place you can get it is Planned Parenthood. My friend went to Planned Parenthood because she's like, I don't like my cramp. Anyway, she got that and then she was bleeding for 6 months. Not heavy, you know, but remember I told you guys first day of school, what did I tell you guys about our body and us? We're stupid, our body is smart. Her body was trying to correct whatever this is that you entered my body. Does that make sense? Her body was trying to correct that. And after 6 months, she went and had them take it out because she was like always in pain and she was like always spotting and it was just so weird for her. But when you use those things, do you guys know what those are? Do you know what it is? How does it prevent it? Does anybody know? It is. It causes your progesterone level higher, preventing your estrogen always stays here. Does that make sense? It won't go higher. But you need that. We need that every month. Every woman needs that every month for what? For healthy bones. That's not even do with reproductive system. We need that for healthy bones, for maintaining healthy bones. Does that make sense? I don't know, no. This is what I know. Only country in the world, have we talked about what's the #1 cancer in America in women? Breast cancer. What's #1 cancer in men? Prostate cancer. Breast and prostate, they're both related to hormones, right? Sex hormones. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? They're both related to sex hormones. Hormones, basically. Everywhere in the world, every country in the world, they say if you have a close family member who had breast cancer, you're not supposed to take birth control. Every third world country, they teach that too. If your roots from outside America, you know what I'm talking about. They teach you that. Do you guys know that? Like if your mother has breast cancer, if your grandmother, aunt, sister, you're not supposed to take birth control because you're already prone to getting breast cancer. Does that make sense? And they say these progesterone, these messing up with the hormones makes you more vulnerable to get it. America is the only country in the world that says no, studies hasn't proved that. Only our studies has not proved it, which I think it was, I don't know, the last month I heard on the news, you know, the health news, they were saying, scientists are saying it might be a connection between birth control and breast cancer in women. But I mean, if #1 cancer is breast cancer, does that make sense? So maybe we are wrong. What do you guys think? We're getting back to where? We're getting back to big pharma. And well, let me ask you, why do they want to promote these medicines in low income communities? What's the point of it? Huh? I don't know. I'm asking you guys. I don't know. If it's good stuff, why are gynecologists not handing them out? Because they're not handing them out. Do you know anyone who does?
I look at Kaizen, there's some doctors that won't do it.
At the Kaiser Hospital, you mean? What insurance is? They go back to like the, is it like to anyone?
Well, I work in pediatrics, so that's how I know from they offer it.
I know, but to who? Is it, are we going back to medical patients? Does that make sense? Are they cause Kaiser, like, they have a lot of, like, Medi-Cal and Medicare, and you know what I mean? Are they giving it to Medi-Cal people? Because now we're going back to low income communities. Like, I know that. Now, I know I gave the Beverly Hills example because my friend really did go to Beverly Hills Clinic. She doesn't even live there, but she did, her gynecologist was there. But the private practices and stuff, if you pay $200 to see a gynecologist, there's no way they give you that. They're gonna tell you this is really, really bad. This is dangerous. You don't know what's gonna do to your body. Like, there are they don't say go get pregnant. There are a lot of ways to prevent it. You know, but like better options that you don't risk your body. Because the health of your body is important too, right? But why do they do that? And then make themselves sound like heroes. First they politicize it. I don't know. Questions? Comments? So this is the broad ligament. Most class have seen it in the lab by now, right? That's the ovary, these finger-like structures were. Fimbria, this is. Fallopian tube. This is infundibulum, the first part. We have ampulla. Fertilization happened here. Egg and sperm meet here. Look, the egg, ovulation happened here. Do you see that? Boop. That's the egg. What's in this wall here? We have cilia moving the secondary oocyte in here. Does that make sense? This egg gets all the way here, and the yellow part. Sperm from this side comes in, finds the sperm, and they fertilize. Fertilization mainly happens where in? Ampulla. That's where they ruin your life. And then it comes in. It grows finger-like structures and grabs into your uterus. And then just grows in there. Huh? It's like a parasite.
Yeah, for them, this is what it is.
Parasite. So this is the wall of the uterus, guys. The most inner layer is called endometrium. That's where the shedding happens. Remember we talked about shedding? That's the endometrium. The muscle layer is the middle layer, smooth muscle, and it's called myometrium. And then this outer layer is called periometrium. Remember, this is the cervix. You heard about cervical cancer? They're not talking about a neck cancer. They're talking about the tip of the uterus. And this is vagina. Is there anything else there? This is the ovarian band. Do you see that? Vagina is what kind of epithelial tissue? Non-keratinized, surrounded by squamous. So look, this is mons pubis. But look here, this fold, outer fold, this is labia majora. This is where I said hair can grow. And then it's the inner fold, labia minora, where hair doesn't grow. That's clitoris, urethra, vagina, anus. We talked about this. We said mammary gland. Nipple, areolar. I don't know why they teach mammary gland kind of in female. Well, they don't. They put it in the middle, I guess. Do men have mammary glands? Do men have mammary glands? What's a mammary gland in English? A boob and breast. Do men have breasts? No? Yes or no? Yes. So we're all mammals. Remember, even birds are mammals. Both sex, male and female. Does that make sense? Now, women's mammary glands, they are capable of producing, like lactating, because of the hormonal release. This is male reproductive system. So look, this is a testes. Testes inside, scrotum. It's outside of the body, and there's a reason for it. So testes, they have to be outside of the body because they need to stay in a cooler temperature. So our body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius. Testes, they need to be a couple of degrees lower. That's why they're outside of the body, right? Testes, left testes, they're outside of the body. Does that make sense? Now, it's interesting. On a cool day, what happens to them? They go closer to the body, huh? On a closed day, on a cool day, they get closer to the body. What happens in a really hot summer day?
Hanging real low.
I just showed it to you guys. They do, I guess. I don't know. Did they? Huh? Okay. So sperm is made in testes. This here is called epididymis. Sperm spends most of its life in epididymis. This is where it matures. This is vas deferens or ductus deferens. Sperm has to travel through this before it can come out. Now, how does it move here? How does it move? No, it swims in woman's reproductive system. Here, it's actually the vastus deferens or ductus deferens is actually going through peristalsis, pushing it by that wave of contraction. Now look here, guys, because this was a little bit hard for you guys to see on the model, but look here. This is the ductus deferens. This is seminal vesicle. The material in the semen, other than the sperm, it's coming from seminal vesicle. When these two, they join together, this is called ejaculatory duct. Do you see that? And then that drains into prostatic urethra, membranous urethra, spongy urethra. The head of the, don't name it glands, it's glands. There's no D there. On the lab, don't call it glands. Question, and that's the prostate. This is the spermatic cord. Spermatic cord. This is epididymis. Do you see how long it is? Spends a lot of time. Sperm spends a lot of time here. Look, one, and in the spermatogenesis, one cell gives you how many sperm? 4. Now let's look here. So look, here you see the ductus deferens, you see the seminal vesicle, ejaculatory duct. Now let me show you something. We have two erectile body here. We have a single one, that's this red one. It's called corpus spongiosum. And then we have two on the sides. We have a pair. We have two on the sides. We call them corpus cavernosum. These are erectile bodies. Blood flow in these are what cause erection. Question. This is corpus cavernosum and spongiosum. Any questions? No? You have to have some questions. No? Huh? So next Wednesday, who's coming to lab? Monday students, who's coming to Monday lab? No one? There was only 3 people in lab today. How many people are here right now? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4. 25. traffic when class gets this small. Well, we have 35 students, kind of them are not coming. Like, it was like this from the beginning. I had like 30 students not showing up at the beginning of the semester. Do you guys remember? 30. There's no way anybody can pass the class if they don't come to class. That's not possible. Statistically, I've never had a student who skipped more than 1 or 2 classes and passed this class. Statistically. Most of the students, a lot of students, if they don't Monday lab, they never showed up to Wednesday lecture. Or Wednesday lab. They never showed up. I'm gonna start talking to students from next semester that don't come to class. So next Wednesday, we're gonna go over what?